Hey everybody, and welcome to another news update, and today I'm going to be going over UK and US Nationals top 4 decks because there's some very interesting results in there indeed, and I'm also going to be going over some general Pokemon TCG World news as well. So let's get to it. Straight away I'm going to go head first into the US Nationals results, and what won? Kling. That's right, John Roberts II took Kling all the way to the top of the US Nationals. US Nationals was a record breaker this year with over 1,000 players in Masters. I think the exact number was 1,005. But to get to the top of that with a relatively rogue deck at the moment is incredible. Over 1,000 players and he gets a top spot with Kling. He ignored everything about the hype around Hammer Time, Loss Remover, and took it all the way to the top. He's quite a veteran of the deck actually. I've been watching a few interviews with him. He's been playing it all the way back from States, and he believed in his deck but took something that he was most familiar with and took it all the way to the top. The other top 4 decks were a Darkrai Mewtwo variant which ran 3 Darkrai and 3 Mewtwo, and the deck that came second was Zekrom Electric, also with 3 Mewtwo, and the guy that came fourth was using CMT with Terrakion. But the most interesting thing is he only ran 4 supporters, 3 Juniper, 1 N, 4 Random Receiver, and that's it. He ran a heavy Smeargle count to take advantage of everyone else having so many supporters in their decks, and no one could Smeargle him. No one could use Portrait unless they were very lucky, because he only ran 4 supporters in his deck, and he could search them out whenever he liked by using Random Receiver and Junkart. Obviously works out very well for him. He put the Terrakion in there for Darkrai's and Zekroms, managed to get him all the way to the top 4 and that paid trip to Worlds. Kevin Nance's list also, as I just mentioned, had 3 Mewtwo in it. Mewtwo seemed to be an incredible play. People thought it was going to be played less and people started playing less because Darkrai has -20 resistance to it, but it turns out Mewtwo's still good. Its incredible unlimited damage output and incredible versatility in pretty much any deck really took the format by storm, and it seems like we neglected Mewtwo when it was actually at one of its best stages in the game. So it turns out it was a really good play overall, and maybe we'll see more come out of Worlds. So on to UK Nationals, and that was pretty interesting too. I was there obviously, and there was a lot of Vileplume around and a lot of mono fighting decks. And in the end we had a top 4 of Zekrom Electric, 2 Vileplume decks, one of them being Kumis deck, which is like Miss Majors, Terrakion, and various other attackers. There was also a Vanillux deck, and the last deck was Celebi Mewtwo Tornadus with Terrakion. The finals ended up being the Kumis deck against Zekrom Electric, and Zekrom Electric came out on top. What was interesting was 2 Vileplume decks made the top 4, which was incredible. A lot of people were taking Espeon on the day, and Vanillux still managed to make its way all the way to the top 4. The Kumis deck player, that's a really interesting deck choice. I think he was the only person running it, or the only one who did well with it anyway. Got all the way to top 2 and managed to get taken down by Zekrom Electric in the finals. So the Zekrom Electric list was actually really interesting as well. It ran 3 Terrakion, which is quite heavy for a Zekrom Eels list. And I think he just put most emphasis on Terrakion, so it's more like an Eels Terrakion list, and that's what he likes to call it. But anyway, very interesting results from Nationals, and let's get on to a quick bit of news from the Pokemon TCG world. The first bit of news is kind of an update from the last news update, because I was talking about Vileplume. We saw an oddish in the TV commercials for the new Japanese set, and the Vileplume has finally been released, and guess what? It's not Trainer Lock. It's got a very interesting ability actually. Its ability allows for, it changes all ×2 weakness in play to ×4. So at the moment, every weakness at the moment is ×2, especially in the Black and White onwards format. But now this Vileplume, when it's in play, changes them all to ×4. So this isn't as devastating as we thought it might be with Train Lock, but ×4 weakness is actually going to be very interesting. I don't know how it's going to be used because it's stage 2, it's got pretty mediocre attack, but it could be used in very interesting situations somewhere down the line. ×4 weakness on anything means that anything can really hit for massive damage. You can use any kind of type you want. If you hit for 80 damage base damage, for example, then you'll be hitting for 320 damage just from an 80 damage attack. It's crazy. So we'll just have to wait and see how this has an impact on the Japan's metagame, if it does at all. And yeah, it's a very interesting card indeed. So we move on to another update from last week's news update, and it's to do with the mentioning of Team Plasma Pokemon Engine, which could have been coming out last week, and it's finally been announced. We are getting a new kind of owner's Pokemon mechanic, kind of like SP, but this time it's not going to feature very fast basics, but it's actually going to feature stage 2 Pokemon, as you can see here. The dummy we've got at the moment is Klinklang of all Pokemon, and underneath the HP bar it actually says Team Galactic's Pokemon. At the moment they're in kind of starter decks, like theme decks. We don't usually get those over here, but it'd be very interesting to see what kind of cards we get with these Team Galactic Pokemon cards. Could we see something like the SP engine where we just have specific cards for the owner cards, or will there just be a general special power that they have? Only time will tell. And now we actually have some reports of a fake card, so it was pretty interesting. A lot of popular blogs reported this news that Dialga EX was coming out with its another A-spec card, but what it turns out to be was actually it was fake news. It wasn't actually going to be printed, and it's pretty interesting because the card actually wasn't that good. It has an ability where you could rearrange the top 5 cards of your deck and put them back on top of your deck, and the A-spec card was called Miracle Diamond. When attached to Dialga, when Dialga EX is knocked out, you just shuffle it and all the cards back into your deck. So it wasn't actually a crazily good Pokemon. The attack wasn't that great, the ability wasn't amazing, but it turned out to be fake news. So what does this tell us? Well, we should be careful when you're listening to rumours, but this is the first time I've ever heard of fake cards being announced on popular blogs, and I'm sure they'll be more careful next time. Just thanks for watching this episode. What do you think about the news stories we've talked about today? The interesting shift in the metagame just before Worlds? How do you think it's going to affect the metagame to Worlds? And what do you think about these new products that we're getting? New cards like Vileplume with ×4 weakness on everything, which is going to be very interesting. The Team Plasma mechanic, what do you think about that? And the other things I've mentioned in this quick episode. So thank you all for watching. Please subscribe, like and comment down below as I've just said, and I'll see you next time.